It was kind of a small group of, small group of young people. But me and Vicky also brought the kids because I was kind of very inspired by Brendan's kind of testimony service about God's Day, about that kind of community feeling when he was young and how it kind of always stuck with him. And also, I just remember in one of our membership meetings, Roshan really wanted to try to also bring back, she was trying to think about how we could make New Year's like the God's Day of old, right? Um, I wanted to bring the boys and try to at least try to start that, see if they could really have a good experience. And Zach was playing board games with the brothers and little Vicky representing the sisters. There's two Vickies now, so I have to clarify. So it's Caspian was so excited. Like I was hoping he would fall asleep. So he would fall asleep and then we could wake him up and he could, have hot chocolate and watch the fireworks and the countdown. But he was too excited to sleep. And so he was just trying to stay up the whole time. And obviously he couldn't make it. He ended around 11. So when we woke him up, he was just totally out of it at midnight. But that happened to me a few times as a kid. So that's part of the experience. But he said something really cute where we were just wandering around. Once Natty was asleep, I was kind of on Caspian duty and Zach was just playing with the boys. And Caspian was like, will we be in this church next year? And it was such a funny question, the way he phrased it. I'm like, yeah, I think so. Like we should be. And he's like, yeah. And he's like, can we do this again? Right. And he was just so excited and he was having so much fun. And I don't even know what he was doing. He was just kind of running up and down the stairs and like poking the door and making fun of Daniel or something and running out. Like he was just he's but it was just kind of very heartwarming to hear. He was kind of having an experience that he was really kind of feeling the atmosphere, doing something different, being up late with other people, right? Being with the community. And then this morning, he was like, do you remember last night? I'm like, yeah, I remember last night. He's like, I'll remember last night forever. Right? So kids are cute, but they really kind of just wear their heart on their sleeves, right? So it was really I was really happy we did it, right? And I think Zach also was, he's able to stay up, so he had a good time. But I think, I think what it does is it really highlights a new phase that our community is in, and I think that's very obvious, right? That we're really kind of shifting to a, in a way, like a younger demographic. We have recently blessed couples, newly matched couples, right? And then everyone kind of in that age to start looking to get matched and thinking about the matching and blessing. Because I noticed something like over COVID, we kind of had these 3 years, right? We were kind of locked down and more isolated. And in those 3 years, almost all of our teenagers became adults, right? It was kind of like a skip, especially from I'm sure in the families, you saw them growing and going from teenagers into adulthood. But for the rest of the community, it was almost like we had workshops and, they were coming to them and then suddenly they were adults, right? That was kind of how it felt to me, when we come back, we're all together. So it's really like, it was happening kind of obviously as it does slowly, but then I felt like COVID was almost like a gap and then it was there, right? So in one sense, I feel like then now we're going to start having, in the next 5 to 10 years, we're going to have an explosion of kids, right? That's kind of the natural outcome of that phase, right? And I gave Alan 10 years. Come on, I'm giving people lots of time. I'm not putting pressure on anyone. But it's well, if you have like 6 couples all blessed around the same time, you're gonna have, that's what I'd expect, right? Yeah. So but it just reminds me, it's something I really look forward to, because if I look at like 2030, right? When I first came to Ireland, I was about 14, 15. And that's kind of the way the Irish community was when I first came, young families and lots of young kids. And we were having workshops in the McCann's house. And I think the oldest kids would have been like me and Vicky, so like 15, 13, but most of the kids were like 12, 11 and under, right? So it was just like it was almost like we're all playing games and we throw a little principal in there somewhere, right? And that was, and I look forward to that because I feel like that's going to come back, right? It's just like the cycle of life, and we're going to have a similar kind of demographic and community feeling, right? So it's just so yeah, we're in a much different phase as a community, and a lot of that's natural and will naturally kind of transition. But I think it's also good to like take a step back and recognize that and see how we prepare for that future and focus on those things, right? So on that note, I wanted to share kind of what I really wanted to share today was my experience with Reverend Song. So for those of you who you remember, Reverend Song was our continental leader when we were doing this like back-to-back Cheongsang conditions to really try to get True Parents back into Europe, right? And I would say that it worked because True Parents got back into Europe while Reverend Song was our continental director. And now he's the international president of Family Federation. So he's a man of Cheongsang, you know, he really believes in Cheongsang, and he recently committed to meet every single national leader for 40 minutes, one-on-one. So quite kind of a dedication, a kind of a Cheongsang commitment. So I had a chance to meet with him for 40 minutes and just kind of present the Irish community, present our kind of where we're at and what we're planning to do. And it was a really good experience because I don't know how many of you have seen the annual report where we kind of, you know, just showed all the events that happened this year. I probably should send it out if I haven't. But I also kind of explained, though, what I was talking about earlier, where we have a very kind of lots of young second generation who are getting matched, recently blessed, looking to get matched or in the process. And so that, you know, for this year, we really want to focus on kind of youth education, matching and blessing education, relationship education, right? And really trying to support families in the kind of matching process, and trying to see how we can do that better. Although, to be honest, I think parents have been doing a good job. Parents, you know, so, but I was kind of trying to give this heart and this perspective to Reverend Song and just saying, you know, we're a small community, but we're a young community in a sense, right? Because we have this kind of new phase. And and this is what we really want to focus on, right? And of course, another thing I've been talking to a few of the second gen about is we really want to try to see if we can launch YSP this year, right? Because YSP is really kind of like, as far as I can tell, really kind of inheriting the old kind of CARP heart and atmosphere, as well as Youth Federation for World Peace, which I'd actually worked for a while under Hyunjinim. I was working for Youth Federation for World Peace. And they've kind of all it's kind of now under the title YSP, but it's the same kind of goal, the same kind of heart, which is how do we reach young people in society? How do we have an impact on people when they're really trying to find purpose and meaning in their lives, right? And how do we give them or help them find a purpose and meaning that, you know, isn't communism, isn't some kind of, you know, social cause that ends up being more harmful for them, right? So, so I was kind of explaining this to him, and you know, our focus. You know, obviously, we still want to do UPF and Women's Federation because those are kind of core. And another thing is, last night when I was praying, I was kind of praying for at the midnight prayer a lot of these problems, like on the global level, and they just feel so overwhelming, impossible to solve, right? You got kind of war in Ukraine, war in Gaza, and those are just the wars that we're kind of constantly bombarded with in the media. But wars in reality are kind of a constant in the background, right? In many parts of the world. And so it's, so just, you know, praying about this, and always it's like, it feels impossible, but the principle is very clear that you don't start with the biggest problem. You don't start with the impossible problem. You start with the individual and the families. And that's kind of the principal approach to building out the right culture, the right spiritual foundation. So I feel like, the work UPF does, the work Women's Fed does, when we go to the global events and we see the impact it's having, I think it very much follows that principle. So very crucial, very important to kind of keep doing them. But again, with the kind of new phase we're in, we really have to kind of include the younger people in those events, right? We need to somehow make it inspiring across the board. So this is kind of the conversation I was having with Reverend Song, and kind of the first 20 minutes was me kind of presenting, doing a presentation, a summary, and we had lots of pictures of the community up in the presentation. So it was kind of also very visible that we had like a lot of young adults, young married couples and stuff. So it was a good, I did my best to really represent you guys and give a good impression, right? And Reverend Song was so happy actually after my presentation, and it really touched me because he's like, your presentation makes me so happy. He's a very humble guy, right? And he's like, your presentation made me so happy because it's so much focus on the youth and so much focus on education, right? And he said, he when he talks to mother says she wants to have less big events and really focus on young people and youth leadership and youth education, right? So he was saying that, your plans for next year very much aligned with what mother's thinking and what mother is trying to push for and pray about, right? So yeah, I thought that was very, very comforting, and kind of felt like, okay, so we're doing the right things in a way, right? It's a little bit of a, I won't say seal of approval, but it's kind of, you offer up this report, and then Reverend Song was like, yeah, you guys are doing a good job, and you have a wonderful community, and I'm really grateful for all the work you're doing and stuff. So also a little bit of an ego boost, I guess, but overall the main point being that, yeah, exactly. But I get a lot from you, James, so I appreciate that. But overall, it does help to get a little extra. But no, but generally it was a very kind of, it almost felt like a casual chat, like even though it was about very serious topics. But
So did you speak in Korean or
I was too afraid to speak in Korean, so I just spoke in English. So he didn't even know I spoke in Korean. I was kind of like, I don't want to suck up to him too much, so I didn't. I know. I just kind of was really nervous, and I just left it, right? So yeah, next time, right? Yeah. So, but yeah. So it was, yeah. I just want to explain. It was very casual, right? It was very. It wasn't casual. It was like official and everything. There was, but it felt very casual because I felt he was very artistic, and he was genuinely happy kind of with our situation as an Irish community. And that's what I really wanted to I felt after that, I really need to share that with everyone and really kind of, yeah, share that feeling also from mother, that what's important is, that we're kind of raising up each other, that we're taking care of each other, that we're focused on education. We do have to do more outreach. We do have to start to try to do more witnessing, but I think that we're kind of inspired to do that, and we're trying to work together and trying to find out how to do that, especially among kind of our group of second generation, right, and younger members. And the other thing he said, and I wanted to just mention this as well, and actually Reverend Hannah told me this as well, is mother's going to be coming to visit Europe kind of in spring next year, between, I guess, the February blessing and potentially another blessing. But she's going to go to America for an event, and on her way back, she wants to stop in Europe, not for any kind of official event, but just to spend some time in Europe in some of the countries, do some sightseeing, spend time with the members. So this year, sorry, thank you. This year. So there is, the headquarters did request that every nation can put together like a proposal of how they would host mother. like where she could go sightseeing, you know, kind of, I think it would be for a couple of days. European headquarters would cover the cost. Have to be kind of conscious of, you know, she has limited mobility and that she has an entourage of about 12 to 13 people. So there, it's something, you know, we could, if we want and we feel inspired, we could put a proposal to for mother to visit Ireland this year. So just I wanted to mention that because I think it's a great opportunity. So if people are interested in maybe making a little team and working together on that, we could try to do that in the next week or two. So yeah, so it's just again, mothers really wants to meet people and be part of our lives and our communities, even though it's difficult, right? Because there's a lot of communities and a lot of people. But she is thinking about, she thinks about Europe, she thinks about the different places. And, you know, she's very happy to hear these reports of the things we're doing and the situations we're in. I just felt that very deeply from Reverend Song, right? Because he's kind of the entry point to Mother, right? I don't think Mother can meet every national leader one-on-one like that, but I was very grateful for the opportunity and felt really, I don't know, I guess I felt really cared for and felt like there was genuine care also for all of us. And that's what I wanted to convey to start the year. And I think, yeah, I think that's my message for today. Again, going back to, it is New Year's, so, you know, a good time to have hope, make plans, make realistic goals, all the stuff I was saying in the beginning. But what I really want to share today was kind of that kind of view of our community that I think I find very inspiring. I have a lot of hope in. I'm really looking forward to. And I've told a couple people in personal conversations, but I think it's very important. The most important part of the Providence for me, the most important part of being in the community and being a leader is helping in any way I can, supporting in any way I can, in regards around the matching and the blessing and personal relationships, right? Because that can be very challenging. That can be kind of ups and downs in terms of the matching process, in terms of after you're blessed, in terms of, you know, when you start having kids. So all those points, like, you always need more, as much help as you can get, right? It's really like an important part of a relationship is it's not about just the two people. It's about the families. It's about the community. And I always want to make myself available to support in those areas because I know people have this impression, oh, I'm very busy and I might be stressed or I'm doing too much. And all that's true, but none of that is more true than my desire to really take time and sit down and talk with people about the most important things, right? Because for me, that's what actually solves eventually the problems in Gaza, the problems in Ukraine. And it's a long chain to get there, but I think it's that every single link that matters and that I really, where I try to focus and I really genuinely care about. So that's kind of an open offer, especially for the young people as you're going through life. You know, don't be afraid to ask for help. Don't be afraid to ask for someone to share what you're going through or advice or anything like that. I mean, I think your parents, everyone around here is in the same boat. They want to help. They're willing to help. So please never feel alone either. And that's another point I just want to say at the start of the year. So thank you, everyone. I'll close with a prayer. Please join me. Saramanashin Hanal Bumangin. As we start this new year of 2024, as always, we pray we can center it upon your heart and your will. We know that in every moment, there is still so much work to be done. There's still so many people who feel lonely and who feel unloved, and especially at times like New Year's and New Year's Eve. if they are alone at those times, those feelings can really be made much, much worse. So grateful that we have this opportunity to come together, to know that we really have family and community to be around and to uplift us. But we pray for those who are lonely and who really need support and need love, and pray that we can do more to find them, to comfort them, to also raise them up and be able to share your love with them. Of course, to do that, we need to be more capable of receiving your love, more capable of giving your love. So throughout this year of 2024, I pray each of us can become deeper people, deepen our relationship with you, and deepen our relationship with each other. Really, actually, the world is a beautiful place, and the world you created for us and the ideal you had for us is such a beautiful ideal. And although it seems impossible so often, the truth is that people are capable of loving each other genuinely, sincerely, unconditionally. That capability exists, and we see as history goes on that people become better, not just as individuals, but that individual improvement has a knock-on effect, and you have more loving families, you have more stable communities, more stable nations. So even though it's a long process, even though it's taken so many years even to accomplish what the world has now, we know that with you, that history is being moved by your heart of love, your desperate heart, to bring all people into this ideal of true love, of peace, in the sense that not just the absence of war, but peace in that we are comfortable knowing that every person we meet and every person we interact with truly cares and is eager to protect us and eager to share with us. So as we start the year, I pray we can start the year with a focus on the ideal and the potential that each of us have and that all people have. And it can really give us the strength to overcome the challenges we may face and the sadness that is all around us. I really pray this year, all of us, through the love centered on you, that can find love and happiness that is stronger than any of the sadness around us. And we're so grateful to be alive at this time, for all the blessings we have, for all the people that we have in our lives, and pray we can also hold on to gratitude to give us strength throughout this year. And I report this on behalf of all of our brothers and sisters here, and in my name, Young Il and Vicky Lowe of the Central Family. Jew. Jew. Okay, with that, I'll welcome Brendan back up. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Eli. Demographic is shifting. Once Samuel and Daniel got matched, started feeling the pressure. About 8 to 15 people approached me individually saying, Brendan, when are you next? What's going on? So I'm feeling the pressure. Now Eli's talking about kids in 5 or 10 years.
Explosion.
Yeah, explosion of kids. Feeling the pressure. No, in all seriousness, no, the demographic is shifting, and it's nice to see that there's a mindset of shifting education towards this. So that's great to hear. So thank you for that, Eli. So if we'd all like to rise, and we can finish with our closing song, which is Song of the Victors. Sorry? Shining Fatherland, excuse me. Okay. Sunlight beaming forth in the east from the fatherland, bringing God to cover your world to families in the the devastation to send all throughout the world. He has forever the hope of joy and peace. Oh, Lord, throughout the shining fatherland, tells the tidings of the rising sun that brings us life. Harvest quickly, men of the field, hasten to harvest now. Crops are ripened and ready to bring into the heavenly plains, and angels and heavenly hosts gather to speed the death. All will share the harvest of joy at the banquet of our Lord. Throughout the shining fatherland, tells the tidings of the rising sun that brings us life. And the rows of 6,000 years are gone from the Father's heart. Sons and daughters shall live with great joy. Our true parents, saints and sages and men of the faith, all waiting for this day. Lord, of hope and fidelity, to see this day. Oh, dawn throughout the shining fatherland, tells the tidings of the rising sun that brings us life. Oh, dawn throughout the shining fatherland, tells the tidings of the rising sun that brings us life. Phenomenal. Thank you very much. You may have a seat. Yeah, before our reflection yesterday, we did 40 minutes. So before that started, we wanted to set the atmosphere with some music. And I think Brendan had the guitars, about 5 of us in the room. And we did about 5 songs. And I don't know, it was quality over quantity. The atmosphere in the room was unbelievable. And so this is one of the songs we sang yesterday. And it was just amazing. It's incredible. So thank you for that. Appreciate that. So now on to some announcements. So the annual community lunch for New Year's, that tradition is upheld this year. The reservation's for 1:30, but we can probably just, head there afterwards, right?
It's a little early.
Yeah.
So
Okay, so we can
maybe if we aim for like 1:15.
leaving here at 1:15 or getting there?
Getting there at 1:15.
Okay, yeah.
So leave it at 1?
Yeah,
So we leave here.
1:05.
Yeah, so we have about 20 minutes to stay behind, chit chat, and we can leave at 1 o'clock altogether. It's at Luigi Malone's around Temple Bar area. So after that, at about 3:30, there's going to be some fun activities organized by myself and Brendan. Stay tuned. We'll leave it as a secret. And then, yeah, it's kind of a rough schedule, but roughly 5 p.m. we can all head home. Yeah, that's the plan for the day. I'm just trying to check. Next Sunday, or this Sunday rather, the 7th is going to be home church. So please don't come to the center if you're expecting a service. January 14th, we'll have a longer membership meeting, focus on 2024 planning. And yeah, thank you all for today. Wish you all a happy new year. Thank you all for coming. Thank you. Yeah, perfect.